Welcome to Sacred Space. I am Ariana. I am thrilled to have this time with you. The people I'm looking at on the screen as we talk are familiar faces, and some of you who are viewing this video later on, I don't know as well, but this space is open to you to come into live anytime you'd like to. And the nice thing about the live space is after we have shared a little bit of information and done a little meditating, we'll go off the recording and have time for community conversation. And if you think I have something wise to say, you should be in this room. You should hear the wisdom of the people who join this space. It really is a very sweet thing to be together and to hear each other and converse. So we really want to strongly invite you to join us anytime you're able in the live space. It's always on Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. And also want to thank you if that time just doesn't work for you and you make time to watch this on your own. Really grateful. And you are just equally as much a part of this community as the people who are here. And for those who are here, I would invite you to take a minute before we get started and to look into each other's eyes, to actually recognize that we are entering each other's homes. It's very easy to see this as a screen. And with just a slight adjustment in perception and the time it takes to actually visually connect with one another, we are able to recognize this invitation to join the space that we're all in, this energetic invitation to recognize that quantum physics tells us at the lowest level, and I don't mean that in terms of high or low, but at the smallest level, that we are energetically connected to all of life. And that being so, we can look at this screen and realize that it's an energy platform. So here we are in this field of energy, coming from as far away as Australia and as close as upstairs in another room in my house, and many points in between. Here we are in all of those spaces gathering together in this energetic way. And energy is really foundational to what we learn about in the space that we're gathered in. So thank you for the invitation to share your sacred space, and you are certainly welcome in mine. I have been thinking about freedom. I have been thinking about freedom because life is full of all kinds of opportunities for constriction, all kinds of things that we must do and we have to do, and that take us away from what we want to do. And so I've been thinking a lot about just what freedom in my life might look like for me and what I would like my life to feel like. And when something keeps coming up for me, I often will go out in search of more information. What's the spiritual piece of this thing we call freedom? And as I did that, the word that came up for me over and over and over, the word I kept hearing and reading was liberation. The concept of spiritual liberation. So I wanted to bring that to this platform and invite you to consider it for yourself. What does that mean to you? What does the word liberation mean? So when we consider spiritual liberation, in most teachings across spiritual platforms, we're talking about unlearning a lot of the things that being human teaches us. Talking about unlearning the ego part of who we think we are, who we've been taught we are, because we've been taught who we are since we were born. Our parents worked really hard to teach us who we are. We got a name, we got an address, we got parents and family, we got history. We got a whole bunch of stuff when our souls came into this body. We got a whole bunch of stuff that tells us who we are. And very definitely tells us, doesn't give us a lot of room to question. In fact, we have to know that name and know that family to start kindergarten. We have to know who we are. Then we have to learn to spell who we are. We have to be able to identify ourselves and identify the people that keep us safe. And we have to separate who I am from who you are. We have to understand all the different roles that we play. And as we move through school, we're judged on our ability to show who we are in comparison to either expectations or other people. So life continues to do this for us, doesn't it? We move through school, maybe we go on to higher education and we get degrees that tell us who we are. And then we pass through having degrees and we get into education that tells us who we are, and we get into relationship, and maybe we get a partner and we are now part of that unit. So over and over, this human experience moves us farther and farther and farther away from the core self, from the eternal self, from the aspect of who we have always been and who we will always be. And if we never pause to think about that, if we never pause to think about all the things we've been taught we are, all the labels we've picked up along the way, it's kind of hard to recognize the soul that lives here that will carry on. It's hard to even ask questions about what that soul is. Who am I really? Who's looking out from behind these human eyes? Who is this energetic being, field of existence that extends, as we know oracally, beyond this body? If this body is just a center post, and who we are is so much more than this body. So when we think about the idea of liberation, a lot of times for me, that word, we're being liberated from something, I guess I kind of think of it in the context of war, that we're being liberated from whatever the oppressor is, so that we can find liberation or freedom. So if we use that context, then what is oppressing us now stops us from being our true self, from finding peace and contentment and wholeness, and from really loving life. And that's a big deal, isn't it? So as I'm exploring this, the consideration I'm offering to you is, what can we detach from? The tool for moving through thought like this is to let go of all the things that we think we are, which are very associated with our ego and our circumstances. What if I'm not this person by this name? What if I'm not the degree I got? Who am I? What if I'm not somebody's spouse? Who am I? What if there's no I? What if there is we and interconnection and oneness? How do we get to that? How do we find our way to those moments where we feel like we're breathing with the universe, where we're actually so deeply connected to life, to the essence of the sacred, that the edges of who we are begin to fade away? Because in that place, our guidance is true, isn't it? What we know to be true is true. When we're plugged into interconnectedness, into the interconnection of all things, we're drawing our wisdom directly from the heart of the holy. We are one with and moving as what gives us life, what breathes through us and as us. This is, it's big. And in our human world, it can be really easy to just kind of go, oh, okay, that's it. That was fun for 20 minutes, Ahriana. I don't have time for all of that. Thank you very much. I don't have time to give my attention to what that really means. That is way too big. That is a lifetime of work. Yes, that is a lifetime of work. And it will be work that if we choose to take this on, we have to do every single day. In some way, we learn to step back and observe ourselves. We learn to use our inner eyes to notice who we are rather than be who we are. Wow, I have a big emotional response to that. Interesting, but I am not my emotion. That is simply something moving through this body. And I feel it and I'm aware of it and I can hold it and feel it, not asking ourselves to not feel. Detachment is different from dissociation. And yet, I am not that emotion. That emotion is a reaction to a circumstance. I am not the thought I just had, especially when it's like, not a good thought. I am not that thought. But how interesting that I had that thought. What does that tell me about this human incarnation? What do I want to do with that thought? Do I want to even entertain that thought? Do I even want to stay with that thought? Or do I simply want to detach from that thought? Okay, I had that thought, it's done now. What would I like to think about? Where should I like to take this human experience as I move forward? So this comes to me from living in a stressful world at a stressful time. This interest in exploring liberation comes to me because it's a difficult time to be on the earth. There are a lot of things happening. And if we allow ourselves to slide down that rabbit hole, we can go pretty deep into feelings of hopelessness and helplessness, apathy and disinterest. And we can completely allow our frequency, our vibratory frequency to come to a very low place. But when we actually work to find the interconnectedness that we are, the oneness that we are, find the holy and the sacred in each day and dissociate and I'm sorry, not dissociate, detach from those things we are not, then no matter how chaotic the world is, we are capable of finding a place of peace, a place of openness, a place of love with one another, a place that is less fearful and frightening than the world can be. So for me, that feels like a really good reason to do this work. It's the experience I would like to have. I would like to wake up and be free to have a peaceful, contented day at my hand, meaning that I am able to create that. I have a process to create that. So as we move through this month, we're going to talk about different techniques for doing that. For right now, I would like to just do a little guided meditation just so that we can play with that space, so that we can just consider what it might feel like to detach a little bit. So if you're willing, I invite you to just be comfortable in your chair, adjust your body as you need to, and to close your eyes gently. You know that you're in safe space. You're in the space that belongs to you. So in this safe space, I invite you to just take a couple of breaths and to notice your breathing. Breathe however you are most comfortable, but breathe deep enough that you can feel your rib cage expand. And allow that to give you an awareness that you are in a body, that the soul you are resides connected, let's say it that way, connected to this body, expanding beyond and yet connected. And as we often do, I invite you to Visualize roots reaching from the base of your feet into the earth to support you on this journey, to support this physical form and this energetic journey. And as you breathe, the invitation is that you just let go of any stress or worry or tension. You can do it with every exhale. Breathing in your connectedness with all that is, and breathing out anything that gets between you and that connection. Observing the thoughts as they move away, observing the emotions as they pass through you and yet away from you. Allowing your in-breath to bring you peace and calm and comfort. And I invite you to imagine a gentle light over your head. You might see it or sense it or feel it or simply know that it's there. But that light radiates pure love and freedom. And as you are aware of that light, notice that it showers over you and through you, enveloping your entire being. This light touches you, and as it does, you begin to be aware that it is dissolving attachments you have. Simply dissolving the cords that you attach to physical possessions, to outcomes. Dissolving the cords that you have to relationships that own you rather than support you in your life. Dissolving ideas about identity that no longer serve you. Giving less power to these things that hold you and stop you from knowing who you really are. You might see these attachments as chains or weights or cords, either dissolving or being lifted off your shoulders. In fact, you might feel a little lighter with every breath. I invite you to turn your attention inward more deeply than you have, to the space between your eyebrows, to visualize a flame in this space, representing your true essence. And as you breathe, allow that flame to become brighter, to light the way so that you can see and feel and sense and know that you are interconnected with all things, one with all that is, and so much more than this form that houses you and blesses you in many ways. Feel a sense of expansiveness, a spaciousness as you connect to the eternal and the unchanging. And as you do this, you might need to acknowledge the ego that keeps jumping in. That happens. You can simply acknowledge the thoughts, the emotions, the patterns you identify with, and just notice them and let them pass through you like clouds floating on. Simply observe, expanding your awareness beyond your body and allowing yourself to connect with life at its greatest source. knowing that this connects you to all of life in all its forms and fashions. Life that is so small, we can't imagine it, and life that is so great, it floats as another heavenly body away from us, bigger than we can imagine. All of life. You are one with all of life. The wisdom of all of life belongs to you in this eternal existence. And having a taste of that, ask your body to remember who you really are. Invite your body to support your human existence here while remaining connected to all that is. This path is an easy path to come to. This deeper connection will allow you access to the wisdom that you need to make good choices for the eternality of who you are. So let this body, which is a record keeper, hold the path for you. And as you feel ready, offer thanks to all that is you, and offer thanks for all that has departed. And when you're ready, gently and easily open your eyes and come back to this space. Check if you like, if you want to open your cameras, I invite you to do that. I know some of you step off camera so that you can have that space. But sometimes when we come back, you forget. You forget that you're off camera. It is an amazing thing to think about the layers of all of this, isn't it? Amazing, amazing thing to think about what holds us and what freedom feels like and how really expansive life actually is, the aliveness that animates our eternalness. So what I hope you'll do this week is that you'll play with this thought, that this will be like a new toy. It will be something fun that you can run through your head when all those other things you don't need to be running through your head jump in. I hope that you will choose to observe those other thoughts and let them go, and give yourself time to think about who you were before you came into this body, who you are when you're not named this, and who you will eternally continue to be in the great interconnectedness of all things. And next week, we'll work on a new tool for that, another way to think about letting go and detaching from. And still, we have to function in the world, don't we? So it's a this and that, not a this or that we're working for when we talk about liberation in this human form. So when you come back next week, we'll talk some more about this. If you are here in the room and would like to stay and share your thoughts, boy, I'm curious and ready to hear, ready to be part of that bigger conversation. If you're watching the recording, thank you so much for the gift of the time you spend with us. There is something bigger because we are all connected. It might feel like you're doing this alone, but I promise you, in the oneness, in the interconnection, in the eternality of who we are, you are here with us, we are here with you, and your presence is a blessing. So thanks to those who have to go and to those who are recording, and the rest of you just hang tight and we'll step into some deeper conversation. Thanks so much for being here.